Baywatch. Who would have guessed a show about half-naked, beautiful people pretending to be lifeguards along the Los Angeles coastline was going to be one of, if not the biggest show of the 1990s? Well, what if I told you there's an episode where a 40 line of bikinis disintegrate off women's bodies while they're swimming? This show was where pre-internet men of culture gathered. Okay, so we're all on the same page. Baywatch is one of the greatest shows of all time. It ran from 1989 to 1999. And I, the Tominator, am going to be covering just one episode of this magnificent show. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Baywatch was wild. So in this video, I'm going to be covering episode 13 from season 2, titled War of Nerves. Not only is it just a downright entertaining episode, it's also a great introduction to the main patriarch of the show, Baywatch's own Captain America, Mitch Buchanan, played by none other than David Hasselhoff. The episode begins with Mitch walking along the beach like he's just woken up on the Planet of the Apes, as Baywatch shoehorns in its first song plug of the episode. And instead of an upbeat song accompanied by a flashy 90s montage filled with girls in bikinis, we get a slow, moody, Nirvana-like number called Give Me Something That Lasts. I'm pretty sure that's a typo, performed by none other than Tyson Kelly. Not even Google could tell me who this man is, with lyrics that don't relate to this scene in the slightest, as Mitch and his son Hobie, apparently that is a name, appears out of nowhere and they start roughhousing and just being an adorable father and son, showing us the audience that Mitch loves his son more than anything in the world. So wouldn't it be a shame if something were to happen to him? Then we cut to some college kids laughing, drinking, and one of them somehow rocking a giant boulder with nothing more than his calf muscles in an attempt to appear as if he's surfing. So we have 3 girls, 3 guys, and 1 son of Zeus. I can go the distance. Now let me just make something clear to people who's never seen Baywatch before. If someone is doing something that could be considered even mildly irresponsible by the shore, please be aware that this is a clear sign of impending doom. Think you can go and spray paint some rocks without your kid's sister nearly drowning? Wrong. Think you can go for a jog in broad daylight without getting accosted by a serial rapist? Wrong. Think you can go surfing without getting a little bit impaled by an iron rod? Wrong. So, now you're wise to the ways of Baywatch, what do you think this guy's chances are of coming out of this situation unscathed? Oh my God! Jesus! Within a matter of seconds we go from Saved by the Bell to Quint's death scene in Jaws. This girl's face sums the situation up perfectly. But fear not, Mitch and Hobie just happen to be on patrol. Worry not, young man, Mitch is going to skillfully save you by putting the entire weight of his body on the giant rock that's currently crushing your leg. Then backup arrives and we get our first shot of this guy, sporting some sweet shades, pyjama pants, and a rather threatening disposition. Meanwhile, Mitch has fully assessed the situation and relays to the other lifeguards as to how they should proceed.
Okay, we gotta move this boulder. I think he's broken his leg. All right.
Somehow they manage to lift the boulder off the guy's leg, which, instead of looking like a piece of bacon, appears to have only suffered some minor grazing. The rescue ends with one more piece of crucial advice from Mitch.
Get him to the hospital.
What would we do without him? And we close the scene with a few more shots of this mysterious stranger who's either stalking Mitch or this Coke can. We currently don't know at this juncture. Cut to Lieutenant Ben. Yes, lifeguards have ranks apparently, responding to Shawnee, played by Erica Eleniak, in the only way a true man of culture knows how.
Hey, you got a second?
For you, anytime, anywhere.
She asks him if he can teach her how to surf, and with visions of her wet body racing through his mind, he makes this expression. Then the mysterious stranger finally confronts Mitch, so we now know the Coke can is safe. And we get a bit of backstory as to why he's stalking him.
How about 5 years of my life back?
Hey man, you got yourself to blame for going to prison, not me.
His name is Mason Sato, a Japanese drug lord Mitch helped arrest 5 years ago, and he's out for revenge. He starts with one of the worst forms of harassment, interrupting dinner.
Just don't.
I'll quickly take this opportunity to introduce Kay Morgan, played by Pamela Bark Hasselhoff, a news reporter and Mitch's new squeeze. Also, if you hadn't already guessed, Pamela was married to David for like 17 years. I'm sure this information is interesting to someone. The following day, Sato continues this sadistic form of harassment by this time interrupting lunch.
Is there no into your madness.
Mitch confronts Sato again, and Sato gives us a little more backstory on why he's so hell-bent on ruining Mitch's life.
Bet you didn't even know I had a wife and kid, the operative word being had. After your heroics, she left me.
He then tells Mitch he introduced his own wife to a blade, putting an end to her modelling career. How that helped the Sonnies apparently so upset about losing, I'm not sure. But Mitch gives Sato another warning, this time with more teeth.
Why don't you listen to me? You stay away from me. And you stay away from my son.
But let's get back to the riveting B story of this episode, Lieutenant Ben teaching Shawnee how to surf. Ben proceeds to have a minor stroke reminiscing about how things used to be, and we find ourselves listening to the second song plug of the show, called Better Days, by the ungoogleable Tyson Kelly, a mid-tempo, miserable Oasis-sounding track. But at least it fits with Ben's current medical emergency. Mitch finally does what all normal people would do when a violent convicted drug dealer starts stalking them, and calls the police. Mitch tells Sergeant Ellaby about how 6 years ago he was working a lifeguard tower in Marina, where Sato had a shipping company that was a front for his drug operation. Mitch stumbled across some evidence that would convict him. He tried to buy Mitch off. Mitch refused. Sato went mental and nearly killed a cop with his bare hands. And to all this, Sergeant Ellaby says,
Well, he's keeping his nose clean so far.
so after all of that, Sergeant Ellaby does what most police do until the murderer is literally stabbing you in the jugular.
Absolutely nothing.
Cut to night time and Sato opens Mitch's back door with, I don't know, a skeleton knife, and is wearing a black tank top, so you know he means business. But it seems he just wanted to practice his Photoshop skills and crops Hobie out of the picture above the fireplace. But Mitch, being the old worrywart he is, interprets this as a threat and quickly goes to check on Hobie, who's sleeping safe and sound in his bed. The next day, Sato creeps on Hobie some more at the beach. Hobie recognises him from the restaurant and believes Sato when he tells him he's his dad's friend. Sato asks Hobie if he can teach him a surfing trick. As they're walking into the ocean together, nothing creepy going on here, Kay walks up and calls out to Hobie.
Hobie! I'm just gonna teach Dad's friend how to do a 3-6. Alright!
Have fun getting murdered, Hobie. See you later, mate. So apparently Kay sees nothing wrong with this picture and just walks away. It's a good thing you're pretty, Kay, because you seem to have no more brains than God gave a goose. Meanwhile, Mitch is on the phone to the police and is freaking out.
What do you mean take it easy? I'm wound so tight here I'm about ready to explode.
He then goes to pick up Hobie, where he bumps into Kay with some good news.
You don't have to worry. I just saw him boogie boarding with that friend of yours.
With this horrifying information, Mitch goes full beast mode and unloads 2 doughboys on Sato's face, which appears to be the exact reaction Sato was hoping for.
All witnesses saw it happen. Give me for no reason.
Later that night, Mitch finally comes clean with Hobie and Kay about who Sato actually is. He gets a call from Sergeant Ellaby asking him to go downtown because Sato is pressing charges. But instead of asking him to go with him, he asks Kay to stay there and watch Hobie. And I think we can all see where this is going. After a game of cards, Kay pulls out 2 of the largest apples I've ever seen. Not a euphemism, while creepy noises seemingly start to surround her as she garnishes her giant apples with some orange cubes of unknown origin. Sadly, the snack from hell will go unconsumed, because Sato finally makes his move.
I think the 3 of us should spend some time together.
Mitch leaves the police station, although getting off lightly, is still understandably mega peeved. Upon arriving home, his worst fears have come true. His giant apples and orange cubes are dead. Oh, and also his son and girlfriend are missing. He finds a note left by Sato telling him to meet him at the shipyard alone. Of course, Sato has Kay and Hobie tied up back to back, because this is the 90s. And Sergeant Ellaby finally decides to do some work and checks in on Mitch, where he too finds Sato's letter. Mitch arrives at the shipyard, or whoever this guy is. He finds Kay and Hobie, but before he can fully untie them, the final battle commences. Mostly between the stunt doubles, but let's use our imaginations. Mitch gets absolutely rocked in round 1 and is samurai'd down to the ground floor. Sato begins round 2 with a war cry and continues to go to town on Mitch. This is until Mitch fully utilises Hasselhoff's 7-foot-long arms and pulls both of them into the water, and being a lifeguard, manages to out-oxygen him. But instead of drowning him to death like he deserves, he pulls him out where Sergeant Ellaby and the other officers are waiting to arrest him. Will letting Sato go come back to haunt Mitch? We'll just have to wait and see. The show ends with Mitch pretending he's cooked this lavish meal for Kay and Hobie, but as it turns out, it was all a ruse, as the real chef just walks in from, I don't know, the street, holding a pot full of sauce which he spoons onto their plates, and we're left with one final moment of hilarity as Mitch impersonates the chef.
When you need to eat, you're gonna veto.
We never find out if Shawnee learnt to surf. All in all, I think it was a great episode, and almost feels like a mini 90s action movie. Something like Nowhere to Run or Kindergarten Cop. And with what little screen time Sato had, I think he played a great villain that made you feel genuine concern for Hobie and Kay's safety. Hasselhoff is just Hasselhoff, a little bit cheesy but lovable all the same. And remember, this entire episode happens in just a little over 40 minutes. Primetime TV at its finest. Song plugs and strokes aside, it's one of my favourite episodes of the entire series. And I know I've been ripping on Baywatch the whole way through, but I assure you it's all out of love, because I'm a real fan of the show, and I actually watch this stuff in my own time. And I hope I've maybe urged some of you to also give Baywatch a try. If you like this kind of stuff, please give us a like and subscribe, because I'm going to be making more of it. So thanks for watching. I've been the Tominator. This has been Baywatch Was Wild, and I'll see you all in the next one. Hasta la vista.